Hello students. So today we shall be discussing a very important topic for the BCA students, that is technical communication. So first of all, we need to understand what is the meaning of this term called technical communication. But before explaining the meaning, I would like to ask you certain things that would definitely help you to understand this topic. Let's imagine a situation that you are trying to assemble a computer or you are trying to assemble a drone, and with that computer and a drone, you have received a manual. And in that manual, there is only one line instruction that is given. And what is that instruction? Write down. It says, put everything together correctly. I'm repeating it. It says, put everything together correctly. Now tell me, what do you think? Is this one line instruction, put everything together correctly, enough to assemble the all different components of a computer and a drone correctly? Definitely not. Because in order to assemble any technical gadget or a device, what we require? We require a step-by-step guide. For an example, whenever you buy any electronic gadget, with along with that gadget, you always receive a user manual. And in that manual, there are proper step-by-step instructions given how to use that product and how to assemble that product. So step-by-step instruction that you all need to follow in order to use that product properly has been called the technical communication. So this is just an example of technical communication. And those students who are studying in BCA, they need to learn what is technical communication. So in today's class, we shall be talking everything about technical communication, and I will simplify this topic for you all. So let's get started. Now, so what is technical communication? Let's first understand the definition of it. So what is technical communication? So see, technical communication in a simple manner or in a layman's language, you can say it is a concept or it is a method of explaining a technical detail to a non-technical purpose. Oh, sorry, to a non-technical person. For an example, it says technical communication is the purposeful exchange of underlying specialized information within professional context. So, for an example, if you are trying to assemble you can say a drone, or if you're trying to download a software, if you're trying to run an application. So the technical details related to that programming of that software or the installation of that computer device is the technical information. But no all users are technically sound. So it is mandatory for us to explain all technical things in simple language, in a clear manner, in a well-structured manner, so that it would be easy for a user to understand what are the instructions to follow. Let me give you a very simple example. Suppose there is a person who is very hungry and he has no idea how to cook even a very simple dish. So what he did, he just bought a packet of Maggie, but he has no idea how to cook a Maggie. So behind the Maggie packet, there are always instructions given in a sequential manner, in a chronological manner, that how to cook a Maggie. Step one, boil, take a glass of water. Step 2, boil water for 2 minutes. Step 3, put the packet into the hot water. Boil it for 5 minutes. Step 4, ready to eat. So you can see here cooking a Maggie is a technical thing. But how we are simplifying it? We are simplifying it by giving proper instructions. So giving any kind of proper instruction in a proper simplified manner is called technical communication. What is communication? Communication means exchange of ideas. Communication means exchange of information. Communication simply means when you interact with another person. So the instructions written on a user manual, instructions written on any device, instructions written on any you can say eatable item that you buy, all are the examples of technical communication. So technical communication simply means explaining technical details of a product to a non-technical person in a simplified manner. Okay, uh, so this is about the definition of technical communication. So you can take a screenshot of this page and then let's move forward. So now, in order to understand all the technicalities of this term technical you can say communication, we first should know what are the components, what are the features that a technical communication should have. So the first thing is that it should have a clarity. It should have a clarity. So anything that you explain or write it down on a user manual should be clearly mentioned or should be written in a language that is very easy to understand. You don't need to complicate any of the written instructions. So, free from ambiguity should be the first feature. Okay, ambiguity means it should be clearly mentioned, it should not confuse the user. Use accurate language. Write down. Use commonly used words. Don't write grammatically wrong sentences. Try to eliminate confusing statements. So, whatever you are speaking, saying, should have some kind of clarity. If you have clarity, so you are meeting the first feature of technical communication. You you can take some examples. Okay, whenever you read any instructions written on the signboards or any user manual in any textbook, all are the examples of technical communication. Next feature. Feature is conciseness. What is conciseness? Conciseness simply means whatever you write, whatever instructions you write, it should be short. It should be minimal. Don't write very lengthy sentences. Don't write complicated sentences. Try to write in as short as possible. Write always in brief language. For an example, take the example of any product. Whatever instructions are written on the backside of every product, they are very short information, very precise information, very to the point information. You just need to write those details that are very necessary to understand or important to understand so that you may give proper instructions. Don't try to complicate the things. Don't try to over explain the things. Okay. So, conciseness simply means to the point, brief, short, and concise. I hope, am I clear to everyone? Third point is accuracy. You need to maintain accuracy while explaining any technical information. Always write those information which are accurate. Don't give wrong instructions. Just imagine a situation where you have received a user manual, how to fix a drone, how to assemble a drone, but the steps given are not in a sequence or are not aligned one after the another. So what would happen? In that case, you might end up destroying your product. So accuracy is very important. Suppose you are trying to install a software in your computer, but the instructions given in the manual are wrong. So in that manner, in that matter, you might face some difficulty. So your information should be reliable. Your information should be technically correct. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so let's go to the next point. Next is objectivity. Now, this is a very important aspect of technical communication. Let me elaborate it. See, objectivity is related to subjectivity. There are two important terms here, objectivity and subjectivity. Now, what is objectivity? Let me first give you an example of subjectivity, then it would be easy to understand what is objectivity. Subjectivity simply means when you give your personal opinion, your personal choice, your personal feelings about a particular product. For an example, there are two type of writings. One is called the technical writing and another one is called creative writing. In creative writing, we used to write novels, poetries, essays, short stories. And in order to write these things, we always use imagination and we always try to express our feelings. है ना? If I prefer to write a poetry or a novel, so I will write about my opinion, my feelings, my thoughts. So that would be the subjectivity. That would be the you can say my subjective opinion. Subjectivity means related to a person's choice. But in a technical writing, you are not supposed to give your opinion, your feelings. Rather, you need to be neutral. Rather, you need to tell the things as it is. You don't need to tell the way you use it. Rather, you need to tell the way it has to be used. So, objectivity simply means without adding any emotion, without adding any kind of personal opinions, biasness, or choices. For an example, if you'd prefer to recommend any movie or a song to your friend, so definitely your recommendation would be based on your personal opinion, choices, likes, and dislikes. So, in that matter, if you are suggesting a movie or a song, that is not an objective choice. Rather, it is a subjective choice because you like it, that's why you are referring it. But on the other hand, whenever you see the rating of any movie, a series, so the rating that are mostly given, they are objective ratings. It is not a rating based on the personal opinion of any one person. Rather, they take consideration of all aspects. So, whenever you write any technical document, of like a user manual for an example, always try to avoid using any kind of an emotion in your language, okay? Because emotions have no place in technical communication. Last feature is formal tone. The language of every technical document has to be formal in tone because We are writing something that would be used in a you can say in a professional manner or in a formal manner. So always use business language, always use technical concepts, technical language, rather using day-to-day language, WhatsApp language, or the language that you use in daily life. So these all are the five essential features and characteristics of technical communication. Now let's move forward. Now, as I said while explaining a few features of technical communication, I try to distinguish it that how general communication and technical communication are very different. So let's see what is the difference between the general communication and technical communication. So the first is the purpose. What is the purpose of general communication? The purpose of general communication is social interaction. Try to know about the feelings, opinion of the another person. And we always try to interact with our family members, with our friends. We always try to entertain the audience. This is the purpose of day-to-day communication, either to entertain or to have social interactions. But the motive and purpose of technical communication is not to entertain. That's why we don't use any emotion or figurative language. The purpose of technical communication is to give an information, to teach, to give some kind of instructions. So the purpose is to inform about the product, the purpose is to give the instructions about the product. So this is the main purpose of technical communication. Now, second is what kind of language we need to use. So in a day-to-day activity or in the you can say while watching any entertainment show, what kind of language is mostly used? Emotional language, informal language, conversational language. Huh? But the language of technical communication has to be always formal in nature, has to be very accurate. You don't talk about the things that are not directly related to the facts. And you always need to talk about the factual detail. Okay, things that exist in reality. You are not permitted to use any kind of imaginative language that we prefer to use while writing a fictional work, while writing an essay, while writing a novel, while writing a poem. But these things are not allowed while writing a technical document. Third feature. Who is our target audience? In general communication, our target audience is to whomsoever we interact, whether it is a friend, a relative, a family member, a known person, an unknown person, or anyone. But in technical communication, our target audience is a specific group of people who have bought our product to learn certain specific instructions. So our target audience is very specific. They are the professionals. Huh? So, who will buy a computer? A person who is interested in using a computer. So, we need to tell them the guide of how to use a computer in a language that is suitable to the person who is using it. Okay, so audience is very specific in technical communication, but it is not very generic or general in journal communication. Okay, so let's see what are the examples. So casual conversation, day-to-day conversation, language of social media that you use on WhatsApp and on any other platform, on Telegram, they are the example of general communication. And the technical communication, the projects that you make, the reports that you make, the user manual that you make, they are the example of technical communication. And what is the structure of general communication? It is very flexible. You can talk about anything at any time. You just go with the flow. You never think that we have to talk only in the sequence, only in a fixed manner. But in technical communication, you always need to follow a sequence or a kind of a format or a kind of a standard that needs to be followed. You cannot talk about anything at any point of time. No, that is not allowed. I hope it is clear. Okay, so you can play back the video again to have more clarity. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Now, why BCA students need these skills, why they are taught technical communication? Because you need to make certain academic projects from your second year onwards. You shall be encouraged to make some kind of projects. You shall be encouraged to make certain kind of softwares. So, what kind of language you are expected to use in those projects? Technical language. That is the reason you are taught technical communication in the very first year. Second is career preparation. Whenever you make a CV. So what is CV? The language of CV is very different from the language of an essay. So a CV is a technical document. Why? Because it gives technical information about your, you can say, life or about your personality. Okay, so the cover letter that you make, the emails that you write, they are very specific. The language are of all these documents are always formal in nature. So that is the reason you need to learn what are the rules of technical language or technical communication in particular. Third is technical presentations. You know, from second and third year onwards, you will be asked to make some presentations. You would be asked to give certain kind of vivas. So, what kind of language you are requested to use in those presentations? Definitely technical communication. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So now real world applications. See how all these things are used in real world. That is our motive to understand. So you can see whenever there is a documentation of any product. So there are two type of documents that we make. First is the system documentation required for the system to understand, and the second is user documentation that is given to a user or to a person who is using that product. For an example, whenever you buy any product, with that product, you get a book, a manual, how to use that product, how to install that software, how to avoid the mistakes, how to follow the safety protocols. So, the book that you get along with any product is the user document. So, uh, the examples are the reports, the work plans, the research paper, software documentation, laboratory reports, user manuals, all these are the examples of technical communication. So, in academic writing, if you are a student, where you need to use technical communication, when you make a laboratory report, what kind of softwares you have learned to use, what kind of methodology you have learned. Next, research paper. है ना? If you are writing a research paper, so the language of a research paper has to be technical in nature. Then, whenever you make presentations, as I said, so the what kind of language you need to use in presentation? That technical language. And in professional environment, suppose you are making a project, a proposal of project. What kind of language you need to use? You need to use professional language. You need to explain how we can use this product. So client communication and updates are very important in professional environment. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Common form of technical communication. These are the four basic examples where we use technical communication. First is user manual. As I said, in user manual, there are step-by-step instructions given. How to operate a software, how to run a computer, how to install an application. So whenever you even download any application in your phone, there are instructions given how to use that application for the first time. Even when you download a video game in your phone, there are some instructions given how to play that video game. So what is that? They all are the examples of the technical communication. Second is the project report, the projects that you use, the findings of your project, the recommendations of your project, the methodology that you have used in your project. All are the examples of technical communication. Next is the standard operating procedure. What kind of protocols are used in a particular firm, or what are the protocols are used to make a particular product, a technical product. All are the examples of technical communication. Okay, I hope uh, I am clear to everyone. Let's go to the next slide. Next is digital communication formats. So, in professional email communication, we need to write an email to have an interaction with our boss or with any the person who belongs to a leadership. So how to write an email? An email is always an example of a structured method. See, you can compare it how you talk to a friend and how you write an email to your boss. The language of both these communication are usually very different. You never talk in a formal tone with your friend, and you never write an informal language email to your boss. So an email is always structured. There has to be a subject, there has to be a person in the CC, in the BCC. You have to write respected sir, madam. Then you need to write the body of the email, and then at the end you need to write the regards. If you have some attachment, you need to attach those attachments. So you can see there are some you can say salutations, there are certain protocols, certain structures that you need to follow. But all these things are not followed in day-to-day communication. So that is the differentiation between the language of a day-to-day activity and the language of a technical document. So in this case, your email is a technical communication because you are writing about a technical thing. You are seeking a permission for a leave or a sick leave. So there you are informing that for what purpose you require a leave. Technical detail. Next is technical presentation. So whenever you give a presentation in the class, in a business meeting. For an example, let's take the example of Shark Tank. It's a very popular show. So people with different business ideas, they come, they give their presentation to the different sharks and try to convince them to invest in their companies. What kind of language they use? They use very professional language. They don't talk about the imaginative language. They are very much precise, very much accurate. They try to engage the audience and use proper visuals, proper language. They always talk in a logical manner. Why? Because they are giving a technical presentation of their product. They try to influence you that to buy their product. I hope this is clear. Third is the software documentation. So whenever you read the language of any software, the guidelines, how to use a software, how to install a software, how instructions given, how to run a particular software, all these are the examples of technical communication in a digital format. Okay, so you can take the screenshot. Let's move to the next slide. Now, key success factors. How you can be successful in giving technical communication? You can be successful if you follow three steps. First, know your audience. You should know who is your target audience. You should know what is their level of understanding. And then, in accordance with their understanding, you need to use technicality of the language. You need to use the technical details of that concept. If your audience is not very literate, don't use too many difficult words, too many expert, you can say terminologies. Rather, keep it very simple. But if your target audience is very professional in manner. They are trained professionals, so you can use expert language. You can use some technical terminologies. For an example, whenever you take the prescription of a doctor, whenever you visit any doctor and take advice or get a treatment, they always write some prescription and then you show that prescription to a chemist. You don't understand. Why? Because they are written in a technical manner. Why? Because doctor doesn't want you to understand. He want only a specialized person to understand what are the instructions given. So that's why the language of a doctor is always technical. In comparison to it, the language of any other technician is usually very simple. Okay. Second is structure information. Always give instruction in a chronology or in a well structured manner, in a step by step way, so that every point should be clear to the audience. If required, give certain kind of visuals, images, graphs, or anything that could be helpful for your audience, for your, you can say, for your user to understand. So always write in a structure way. Don't complicate the things for your user because you're dealing with a technical concept. And third is practice regularly. So, how can you learn how to write everything accurately, precisely, in a short manner when you do regular practice? Only because only practice makes a man perfect. Let's move to the next slide. Now, your technical communication journey, especially for the BCA students. Okay, so your technical communication is a purposeful professional information. As I said, why we are teaching you this topic? To for a purpose. Yeah, purpose is to make you understand. Write everything clearly, accurately, concisely. Okay, and it is very important for you to understand because you would going to work in certain organizations after completion of your course, and if you don't have the skill to use a specific language, so how would you be able to work in the organization? That is why it is very essential for every business student, for any technical student to understand the skill of writing technical communication. Because you can develop a software, but in order to develop a software, you also need to know how to develop the layout of a you can say of an application. You should know what kind of a language you should use. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so that is enough, I guess. I hope everything is clear to everyone. If you have any doubt, please write down in the comment box or you can play back the video again. I hope everything is clear. Thank you so much.